I am Michelle Fisher, 29 years old. 3 days ago, my family called to say I shouldn't come home for Thanksgiving. You'll just make everyone uncomfortable. My mom said her tone flat and final, like she was canceling a reservation she never wanted to make. So I stayed in my Palo Alto apartment scrolling through social media while my family gathered in their Newport mansion. I watched their stories light up the ocean view dining room, glowing string quartet playing softly, my mom, in her elegant gown, raising a glass. Everyone smiling like the picture-perfect holiday. No one asked where I was. No one noticed I was missing. At 9:01 a.m., the next morning, my phone buzzed. It was my brother. His voice cracked the second he spoke. "Mom, what did you do?" he shouted before the line switched. "Dad just saw the news and he's not breathing properly. Mom is losing it. What the hell did you do?" The news he was talking about was my company Finweave Incorporated, going public overnight at a valuation of $2.1 billion, making me one of the youngest female fintech billionaires in America. But the real shock wasn't the valuation. It was the Forbes interview that dropped at the exact same moment, laying out years of emails, patent filings, and secret recordings that proved my brother had tried to pass my work off as his own. I didn't say anything right then. I just let the truth hit them like a wave they never saw coming. Before I take you back to how it all started 3 years ago, if this story hits home, like and subscribe. I'd love to know if anyone's felt this way. Share your city and time quietly in the comments. Let me take you back to 3 years ago when this all started. My family wasn't just wealthy. We were legacy old money from Newport, Rhode Island, the kind that came with a 40-year-old financial services firm, a mansion overlooking the Atlantic, and the unspoken rule that you'd learn to charm investors before you learned long division. My brother was groomed for everything. 5 years older, effortlessly charismatic, the one who could close a deal on the golf course and make it look casual. He was the future our parents had always pictured. I was different. I lived for code, not cocktail hours. I got into UC Berkeley for computer science, diving deep into fintech that could actually change how people manage money. While they smiled for my acceptance photos, I overheard my mom tell a friend, "It's a phase. She'll grow out of it and do something practical." That single sentence stuck with me longer than any lecture, and that was only the beginning. 3 years ago, the family mansion in Newport felt more like a headquarters than a home, every dinner morphing into a strategy session where my parents dissected quarterly reports, client pipelines, and competitor moves, while I sat at the far end of the mahogany table pushing salad around my plate. The room glowed under chandelier-light silverware, laid out with military precision, the kind of setup that trained you from childhood to know which fork went with what course before you could even spell your own name. That was the world I grew up in. Legacy old money from Rhode Island, anchored by a financial services firm that had weathered 4 decades of market crashes, regulatory shifts, and economic downturns. The unspoken rule was crystal clear. Charm opened doors, connections sealed deals, and tradition trumped everything else. Kevin embodied all of it perfectly. He was 5 years older, the golden child who could walk into any room and make people feel instantly important. He played golf with investors on weekends at the country club, wore tailored suits like they were casual wear, and had a laugh that turned negotiations into friendships. My parents lit up every time he talked about expanding the firm, Donna placing her hand on his arm and saying with that proud certainty, "Kevin's going to take this company to the next level. He's got the vision we need." The words always landed like a subtle dismissal of whatever I was pursuing, as if my contributions could never match his effortless charisma. I watched from the other end of the table, feeling smaller with every toast to his latest deal. I had just graduated top of my class from UC Berkeley, specializing in fintech that could actually help regular people manage money without drowning in hidden fees and confusing interfaces. The ceremony was in May, and I sent photos, excited texts, even a link to the live stream in case they wanted to watch from Newport. No one showed up. Donna called the next week with her usual calm explanation. "Kevin had that big charity golf tournament, networking opportunities he couldn't miss, sweetie." You understand, right? I said yes because refusing felt like admitting defeat. My dad chimed in over the speakerphone. Networking is more practical than tech right now. The firm's under pressure this quarter. Practical. That word hit harder than any rejection letter, reminding me that in their eyes, my work was a distraction, not a future. A few months later, Donna called again, her voice carrying that familiar edge that meant the conversation was already decided. Michelle, we need to talk about Kevin. The firm was hitting a rough patch. Key clients hesitating, new regulations, squeezing margins, competition from bigger players. Kevin was shouldering the pressure as the designated heir, and the family expected me to step up. Your startup is cute, but this is real legacy, she said. Kevin needs support, and you're sitting out in California playing with apps. She made my entire career sound like a hobby I'd eventually outgrow, something temporary, until I came to my senses and joined the family business. I tried to explain that my app was at a critical stage, months from beta testing, investor meetings already scheduled. She interrupted smoothly. Startups are for people with nothing to lose. You have a family business that's been around for 40 years. Help your brother. The implication was unmistakable. My talent only mattered if it served the family name. I felt the old pull of obligation tighten around me, the same one that had kept me silent through years of dinners where Kevin's successes were celebrated and mine were footnotes. I hesitated, weighing the cost of saying no against the cost of giving in. Fine, I said finally. I'll consult, but only on basics, nothing core. I agreed because family still meant something to me then. I didn't realize yet how deeply that single word would carve into everything I had built. A few months after agreeing to help, I met Brian Cole at Pete's Coffee in Berkeley to safeguard what I had spent years developing. He was a specialist in intellectual property for emerging tech companies and came recommended by one of my professors who knew I needed airtight protection. We claimed a corner table away from the morning rush, and I opened my laptop to show him the core of my fintech app, the algorithm that tracked spending patterns in real time and flagged potential financial trouble before it spiraled. Brian reviewed the code and filings with a focused intensity, then pushed the patent documents toward me. Sign this today, he said firmly. Once it's filed and timestamped, the paper trail becomes unbreakable. No one can retroactively claim what you've created independently. I signed every page, feeling a quiet relief mixed with the persistent worry that my family might see this level of caution as disloyalty rather than self-preservation. I drove south to headquarters in San Jose soon after to fulfill my promise to Kevin. His office commanded a view of the valley sprawl, with walls covered in framed press clippings and photos of him with prominent figures in finance. He greeted me with a quick hug that felt rehearsed, then motioned to the chair opposite his desk. This is going to change everything, he said, as I started outlining basic ways to layer real-time analytics onto their client platform. I kept it surface level deliberately, concepts anyone could research, but nothing touching the proprietary engine I had built. Kevin leaned forward, scribbling notes on a yellow legal pad with an energy that bordered on hunger. This is brilliant, he kept repeating. Investors will love how it differentiates us. His enthusiasm felt off, somehow too immediate, too greedy, and I left the building with a knot in my stomach that I tried to dismiss as nerves. A couple days later, I met Angela Reed near campus for coffee. We had been close since our first group project at Berkeley, where her no-nonsense approach balanced my tendency to overthink. I told her about the patent, the consultation, the way Kevin's eyes had lit up when I mentioned analytics. Angela listened intently, then set her cup down. Document absolutely everything, she said without hesitation. Silence protects abusers. I know because I stayed quiet when my old boss took credit for the machine learning model I built for my thesis. I had no timestamps, no emails saved, and it cost me a year of credit, plus my confidence. She described how she eventually fought back with archived messages and a professor's testimony, winning a small but meaningful acknowledgement that let her move forward. If they cross a line, she added, Make sure the evidence timeline speaks louder than their excuses. Her story resonated deeply, and I started screenshotting every email, saving every note, and mentally noting dates, times, and exact words from every interaction. 2 weeks later, Kevin invited me to a pitch meeting at headquarters with a venture firm from San Francisco. I took a seat in the back of the conference room where walnut tables reflected floor-to-ceiling windows and the air smelled faintly of fresh coffee and ambition. Kevin advanced through slides I had never seen, presenting the real-time analytics framework as a proprietary breakthrough developed internally. This positions us to dominate personalized financial intelligence, he said smoothly, clicking forward. One investor glanced toward me. And you are? Kevin answered without pausing. That's my sister Michelle. She's been helping with some of the technical research. The word helping reduced years of my work to an afterthought. Heat rose in my cheeks as the conversation shifted to projections and term sheets. After the meeting, Kevin handed me a single-page document. Standard NDA, he said lightly, to protect the family business. You understand? I scanned it. Non-disclosure covering all proprietary information tied to the firm. This covers me too, right? I asked. Absolutely, he replied with that easy smile. We're family. We protect each other. I signed because trust still lingered in the space between us. Angela's warning echoed louder now, but I told myself I was being overly cautious. I was wrong, not even close. 1 year after that pitch meeting, Thanksgiving arrived, and the mansion in Newport had been transformed into something out of a holiday catalog. The dining room table extended long under sparkling chandeliers, with my grandmother's china arranged impeccably, white roses and eucalyptus cascading down the center. 12 guests, including business partners and family friends who had recently endowed a wing at the local hospital, filling the seats. Donna placed me at the far end, next to my father's golf buddy's wife, who spent the entire appetizer course describing her Pilates instructor in exhaustive detail. When the turkey was carried in on its silver platter, Donna stood to make the introductions. Most of you know my son Kevin, she said, her smile radiant. CEO of the firm. We're incredibly proud. He just secured a major partnership with a national bank network. Applause spread around the table. Kevin lifted his wine glass with that practiced, humble nod. And this is our daughter, Michelle. Donna continued, her tone still pleasant but noticeably cooler. Michelle works in technology. She's very bright, but she's not much for socializing. A few polite smiles drifted my way, one silver-haired guest in a blazer leaning forward to ask, Technology? What kind exactly? I opened my mouth to answer, but Kevin cut in with a light laugh. Michelle is still figuring out her path. She's brilliant with computers, but introverted, not great with people. The table chuckled in that polite, dismissive way that made heat rush to my face. I stared at the perfectly carved turkey on my plate, suddenly unable to swallow a single bite. After dinner, Donna pulled me into the kitchen away from the lingering guests. Michelle, I know you don't mean to, but you make people uncomfortable, she said, closing the door behind us. You barely spoke in there. Could you try to be warmer? I managed. I didn't get a chance to. She sighed heavily, crossing her arms. I'm not criticizing. I'm helping. People like warmth, they like energy. You're so heavy. The word hit like a physical blow, lingering in the air between us. I felt my throat tighten, but said nothing more. I left before dessert, the drive back to Palo Alto stretching long and silent, with the taste of humiliation still sharp on my tongue. Several months later, Kevin called for an emergency meeting at headquarters in San Jose. I arrived on a Tuesday morning, his assistant waving me through as though I were a familiar fixture. Kevin stood at the window, hands in his pockets, gazing out at the valley when I walked in. He turned, his expression tight. We need the full app, Michelle. I blinked. What? The fintech framework you've been building. We need it for the firm. Investors are pulling back and this could save everything. I reminded him it was my independent project, not company property. He laughed without humor. You've been consulting for us. You signed the NDA. Everything you've touched in relation to our business belongs here. I explained that NDAs don't work that way. His voice hardened. I'm trying to save our family's legacy. Don't you care about that? Before I could respond, the door opened and Donna stepped in heels, clicking sharply on the hardwood. She must have been waiting just outside. Your brother is right, she said, sitting and crossing her legs. You have a legal obligation. I repeated slowly that the NDA covered only the firm's existing proprietary information, not my personal work. Donna's expression turned cold. Don't make this a legal issue, Michelle. Family doesn't sue family. Give Kevin the framework and we can all move forward. I looked from one to the other, my brother and my mother both staring at me like I was the obstacle standing in their way. No, I said quietly. Kevin's face flushed red. Careful, Michelle. You don't want to make this ugly. I turned and walked out, but not before pressing the voice memo button on my phone hidden in my pocket. California is a one-party consent state. As I reached the elevator, the full weight of the moment crashed over me. I felt something inside crack open wide. Not just anger, but the clear, sharp recognition that I had been systematically erased by the very people who claimed to love me most. The recording captured every word. It was my proof. I didn't know yet how soon I would need to use it. The invitations stopped arriving without fanfare. The weekly emails from Donna's assistant that had once popped up every Sunday with dinner details and dress code suggestions simply vanished from my inbox. I noticed after the third empty week when I opened Instagram instead and scrolled through family photos posted without me in them, captions glowing with phrases like, family vibes, or grateful for these moments, showing Donna and Kevin laughing with distant cousins and business acquaintances I barely recognized. No tag, no mention, no empty seat. Saved for me, the absence felt calculated, like someone had carefully edited me out of the frame. I sat in my Palo Alto apartment staring at the screen, the silence pressing heavier than any raised voice ever had. I tried calling my dad once, hoping for clarity, or at least an explanation. He answered on the fourth ring, sounding distant. Dad, what's going on? Why am I not being invited anymore? He sighed, the sound carrying years of fatigue. Your mother and Kevin are under a lot of stress right now. The company is struggling. Maybe it's better if you give everyone some space. Space from what? I pressed. I haven't done anything. You refuse to help your brother after everything this family has given you. The words twisted reality so effortlessly it hurt. You didn't come to my Berkeley graduation. You never asked about my work once in 5 years. What exactly have you given me? Silence filled the line, then he spoke quietly. I think you should apologize to your mother and Kevin. When you're ready to be part of this family again, let us know. He hung up. I sat in my car outside the apartment complex, watching strangers walk by with coffee cups and backpacks, realizing I had been pushed out, not with drama, but with quiet, deliberate indifference. Weeks later, Donna called again. I almost let it go to voicemail but answered anyway. Michelle, about the upcoming family gathering, she began without any warmth. It's going to be small this time, just close friends and some important clients. I wanted to make sure we're clear. This isn't the right moment for tension. You're asking me not to come. I'm suggesting it might be better for everyone if you didn't. Kevin is bringing key partners. The atmosphere needs to stay positive. And I'm not positive. You're angry, Michelle. We can all feel it. You make people uncomfortable. Your energy is off. I laughed, sharp and bitter, the sound surprising even me. My energy? You haven't seen me in months. How would you know what my energy is? I'm trying to protect you, she said almost convincingly. You'll be miserable here anyway. You hate these events. Isn't it better to skip this one? You're uninviting me. I'm giving you an out. Take it gracefully, Michelle. I ended the call. My hand shaking not from sadness, but from the sudden clarity that arrived like a door slamming shut. They had rewritten the rules so I no longer fit anywhere in their picture. I opened my laptop instead of staring at the wall. An email from Forbes sat in my inbox. Miss Fisher, we understand FinWeave Incorporated is preparing to go public in Q4. We'd like to feature you in our 30 Under 30 FinTech Innovators series and cover the IPO announcement. We're particularly interested in your journey as a female founder. Would you be available for an interview? I read it 3 times, then typed back yes, adding that I had a story they would want to hear. I called Angela first. She picked up immediately. Tell me everything. I explained the missing invitations, the calls, the growing isolation. Angela didn't hesitate. This is the moment. We verify the timeline together, every email, every note, every interaction. I'll go on record if needed to confirm you built this independently from day one. Brian joined the next call, reviewing the NDA once more. It covers only the firm's existing information, he confirmed. Your personal IP is completely untouched. We're legally clear. Angela added, this interview won't just tell your story, it will show every woman in tech that they don't have to disappear to keep the peace. I leaned back in my chair, looking at the blank document on my screen. The truth was assembled, ready, waiting. I just needed the right moment to let it go public. Thanksgiving night arrived, and my apartment in Palo Alto felt smaller than ever. I sat on the couch in the dark, scrolling through social media stories from the mansion in Newport, where lights wrapped every column and the string quartet played softly in the foyer. Donna appeared in one clip wearing her black gown, holding court with guests, champagne flute in hand, laughing at something a partner said. Kevin stood at the center, toasting with someone I recognized from business headlines, probably a major investor. The camera panned to the ocean view, sparkling under string lights. No one looked around for an empty spot. No one seemed to miss anything. I stared at the screen thinking, no one misses me, not even a little. The loneliness settled in like cold air through cracked windows, building a quiet suspense I couldn't shake. The IPO was staged for the next morning. I had set everything up weeks earlier. The Forbes interview timed to drop alongside the public listing valuation locked at $2.1 billion. At 9 o'clock sharp, the article went live. Headlines bold across the screen. Finweave Incorporated goes public at $2.1 billion valuation. Founder reveals family betrayal below it. Years of emails, patent filings from before any consultation, and the transcribed recording from that San Jose meeting, all verified timestamps intact. Notifications started flooding in. First a trickle, then an avalanche inbox crashing, then recovering messages from journalists, old colleagues, Berkeley classmates I hadn't spoken to in years. Hashtags began trending. Hashtag FinWeave, IPO, hashtag tech betrayal, climbing fast as shares spread across feeds. Excitement built in my chest, sharp and unfamiliar, the kind that comes when truth finally breaks free after years of being buried. My phone rang at 9:15. It was Kevin, but the call connected to background chaos before he spoke. Screaming voices, glass, clinking, someone crying out. "Mom, what did you do?" he shouted, voice shaking. "Dad just saw the news and he's not breathing properly. Mom is losing it. What the hell did you do?" The line went muffled, as if he was moving through the room. Then Donna's voice cut in shrill. "Give me the phone." She came on breathing hard. "Michelle, what have you done? You've destroyed us. Investors are already calling, pulling funding. The board is demanding meetings. Your father, he can't even speak right now." I kept my voice level, calm. "I went public, my company, my work, the truth." "Your company," she snapped. "You signed an NDA. This is defamation, this is." I interrupted evenly. "The NDA covers the firm's proprietary information. It doesn't cover my personal IP." Brian Cole made sure of that. Silence stretched, then her voice cracked. "You're jealous of Kevin. You've always been jealous. He was successful. Respected people liked him. You couldn't stand it." "The truth isn't jealousy, Donna," I said. "It's documentation patents filed before any pitch emails showing demands the recording from San Jose. Timestamps don't lie." Another pause, then she whispered, "You've ruined his career. Partners are cutting ties all because you decided to air everything." "Kevin ruined his career when he tried to claim my work," I replied. "I just made sure people knew." She hung up without another word. I sat in the quiet apartment phone still warm in my hand, watching fireworks pop outside from distant celebrations. The chaos at Newport was 2 hours away, but it felt closer than ever. The peak of everything building finally arriving all at once, the truth out the fallout beginning, and for the first time I felt the weight lift, even as the storm raged on the other side of the state. Days after the IPO announcement, Kevin held a press conference at headquarters in San Jose, the same conference room where he had once presented my ideas as his own. Cameras flashed, journalists packed the space. He stood at the podium in a rumpled suit. No tie. Eyes red-rimmed. "Thank you for coming," he started, voice rough. "I want to address the allegations in this morning's Forbes article. My sister is going through a difficult time. We love her. We've always supported her, but her claims are baseless and hurtful." A journalist raised her hand. "James Pike from TechCrunch, can you explain the timeline discrepancy? Her patent was filed months before your first investor presentation using similar technology." Kevin shifted. Many people work on similar ideas. Simultaneously, the tech industry is collaborative. Pike pressed. The article includes emails where you specifically asked for her framework, and the recording where you threatened legal action if she continued her independent work. Kevin gripped the podium tighter. "Those are taken out of context. What context makes? We need the full app mean something other than a demand." Kevin's face flushed. "This press conference is over." He walked out. The cameras kept rolling. Within hours, the clip went viral. Reddit, Twitter, TikTok, CEO meltdown. When asked about IP theft, "Watch this tech heir try to explain away evidence." Public shaming spread fast and merciless. The fallout accelerated. A major bank network terminated its partnership, citing ethical concerns. The statement, clinical and professional in light of recent allegations regarding intellectual property practices. "We cannot in good conscience continue." 15 million in annual revenue gone overnight. The firm's stock, which had gone public 5 years earlier, dropped 28% in 3 days. Analysts calling it a catastrophic loss of investor confidence. I received an email from someone with a company address, a project manager I had never met. "Miss Fisher, I've worked here 8 years. I have 2 kids. I'm scared we're going to lose our jobs because of what happened. I know you have every right to be angry, but a lot of us had nothing to do with this. We're just trying to make a living." The message made me sick. These people, engineers, administrators, salespeople, had nothing to do with Kevin's choices yet. They were collateral. I felt the weight of unintended consequences, but reminded myself, actions have consequences. And the truth wasn't my responsibility to soften. A month later, new evidence surfaced. An investor I had never met emailed me directly, attaching a pitch deck Kevin had sent his firm in 2023 revolutionary fintech platform, dated after my patent, but using identical framework terminology. Even the phrase threaded analysis, nodes I had coined in my Berkeley thesis, copied wholesale. He had tried to sell my work to outsiders. I forwarded it to Brian Cole, who called immediately. "This is huge. Not just attempted theft for company use. He was trying to profit off your IP. That's fraud." I decided not to press charges. The publicity would drag everything out longer. Instead, I sent it to Forbes. They published an update. New evidence suggests executive attempted to sell sister's intellectual property to outside investors, side-by-side comparisons with my patent expert analysis from IP lawyers. The comments exploded. "This isn't family dispute. This is theft. How is he not facing charges?" Donna emailed shortly after Michelle. "We need to meet face to face, please." I agreed to a public coffee shop in downtown Palo Alto. Neutral ground. She arrived in a black coat, sunglasses despite the overcast day, looking thinner, older. She sat across from me, ordered nothing. "I'll admit, Kevin made mistakes. Poor judgment, but what you've done is destroying the family business. Employees are losing jobs. Your father is not well." The stress, I waited, What do you want? Money, a position for. Kevin, name your price, and let's end this. I stared at her. You think I did this for money? Revenge. Then attention, you've made your point. Now let's move forward. Move forward. How retract the truth? A clarification say. The situation was complicated. Family dynamics misunderstood that we've reconciled. We haven't reconciled. Then pretend her voice hardened. Do you understand what you're doing to us? To your father's legacy? I met her eyes. You're worried about your reputation, about what your friends at the club are saying. I'm not being childish. I'm being clear. I will not retract the truth. I will not pretend this didn't happen. I will not disappear to make you comfortable. She stood, putting her sunglasses back on. You'll regret this. I already regret that it was necessary. She walked out without another word. I blocked every family number that afternoon, feeling relief, grief, and freedom all at once. No more waiting for approval, no more shrinking to fit their frame. I cut contact completely. No calls, no emails, no forced holidays. I moved closer to the office in Palo Alto, built a new circle with Angela, and the team who saw my work valued my voice never made me feel too much or not enough. FinWeave announced a major partnership with a leading bank network, $50 million contract to implement the platform across their systems, improving financial health detection for millions. The success wasn't revenge. It was proof that protecting integrity pays off. Stories like these remind me we're not alone. If you've been through something similar, feel free to share in the comments.